Hello and welcome to our bread house. My name is Nadezhda and I will share with you a game that I'm sure will change your life. I'm a cultural anthropologist and I traveled across 77 countries on 5 continents, and I had one basic question. In a world where we are so torn by wars, by horror, by violence, could there be something that can unite us and so many different people can come together and learn to love each other? Sounds complicated, but actually I found out that it's not, that the one most basic, simple thing in life is the answer. And it's bread making. I discovered that many different countries around the world have the expression for breaking bread as a symbol of friendship and of sharing. And then I asked myself, then why the city of Bethlehem, whose name means a house of bread, instead of being a place of friendship and sharing, is a place of horror and terror? Well, I just said to myself, I have to try to offer a humble solution, if it's possible. And I started organizing community bread making in many different communities, starting from the Middle East and then to Africa, South America, North America, Europe. So after so many bread making events, 7 years across 5 continents, it became a network, the Bread Houses Network, which now connects more than 18 countries on 5 continents and hundreds of people who either have been changed by these activities or others who continue organizing them, being trainers. It's proven bread therapy for people with all kinds of trauma and disabilities. And this is the reason why all of these experiences and lessons learned were summarized in this game that I want to present to you, Bakers Without Borders. It's everything that I learned and everything that I know can change you and your community to become better. Because it's in the format of a game and it's something very simple but also very inspiring for any age group. Now the game consists of 3 books, which are actually 3 sub-games inside a big box that also has a board with 2 faces. So the first game is called Theater of Crumbs, and it summarizes our method for community baking, where people get inspired to make puppets out of bread, to draw images in the flour and to create whole stories like theater plots, which they play on the table. Theater of Crumbs teaches children very important life lessons, and it reminds adults of moral values that sometimes we tend to forget in our daily lives that are so busy and stressed. It really inspires us to be good to each other, and it's a proven method for therapy, and also it's a wonderful method for team building and for educational activities in school, so you can use it in all kinds of contexts. Now with the rising refugee crisis in Europe, we started a program called Ovens for Peace, baking with refugees and sharing the local bread making traditions with their own, coming from the Middle East. And it proved to be so successful as a program for social integration that we trained Austrian organizations to offer such events in refugee camps and all kinds of centers for social integration.
As a psychologist, I have observed over the years that people with different disabilities and difficulties enjoy great cognitive benefits connected with attention, memory, spatial orientation, logical thinking, imagination, creativity. Kneading the dough itself is very useful for developing fine and gross motor skills. And social interactions that occur during the game grow into relationships of support, trust, friendship. In this way, social skills are fostered and empathy develops better.
Се докоснем до истински важните неща в живота, като приятелството, любовта, надеждата.
Hallo, ich war heute Teilnehmer eines Lehrgangs zum Thema Social Entrepreneurship hier in der Bäckerei, und wir haben zuerst im Mehl gezeichnet und danach haben wir mit dem Krümeltheater uns vorgestellt und visualisiert, welche Veränderungen wir in Zukunft sehen wollen.
Amazing experience. Very interesting, and nothing that I can compare it with, since we're so far away from our roots and the tradition of touching the bread and making it with our own hands. And also what I find innovative in this approach is the fact that we didn't just create a bread, but we used our imagination.
Реших да дойда с цялото семейство, беше уникално, станахме всички в брашно, страхотно преживяване и го препоръчвам на всички, които не са го правили до сега.
The second game, Build a Bread House, is a strategic game. It teaches you the skills and spirit of a social entrepreneur, how to start a social business, how to develop your own ideas into something that helps communities. And as you play together, you cooperate. Everybody plays with 20 seeds, which you invest in the middle of a board in a granary of gifts. And children and adults learn together that the seeds actually represent your talents, not just your money. In everything we do in life, we should invest our love much more than our money and time. It is a wonderful guide, a very practical step-by-step guide for starting your own bread house, social business. So it can be used by any social entrepreneur.
Acho que o jogo Bakers Without Borders, né, o Padeiros Sem Fronteiras, é uma ótima opção de cooperatividade. Ele aborda problemas assim, comuns de uma forma divertida e leve e convida os jogadores a trabalharem juntos, né, para encontrar soluções. Acho que vai ser um sucesso e é uma ótima forma de construir e fortalecer comunidades.
Много хареса играта на мен и на моите деца. За първ път днес попитахме и видяхме, че всъщност деца от 3 до 9 годишна възраст и аз дори тяхната майка може чудесно да се забавляваме. И да бъде интересно на всички и да бъде ценно. Да разбере човек как може да сподели нещо, което има с другите, може да помогне на някой, който има нужда. Така че е полезно за всеки.
Играта е много хубава и човек се научава как да бъде сплотен и с другите, да играе заедно, а не да се кара с другите. Човек трябва да бъде сплотен, защото ако си отделен няма да постигнеш нищо.
呢個遊戲咧就令到我哋可以思考，即係每個人喺一啲小事上面都可以點樣去令到呢個世界嘅進步一啲，或者改變或者幫助人哋啦。
The third game, called Become Bakers Without Borders, inspires you to travel with a mission around the world. It takes you to many different countries as you read my own stories and adventures, and you get inspired to create your own social projects, to think where you want to travel, what you want to create. You draw it, you play on a board that has 20 cards, and when you start creating these stories, you also create a poem, and this poem ultimately becomes the text of your song. The song which you create together with only kitchen utensils. It might sound complicated, but it's actually wonderful because anybody could become a poet and a musician and simply a creative person. That's what this game is all about. It teaches you to not be afraid to experiment, to travel, and also it really develops, especially in children, love for anthropology and for sociology and geography. It inspires simply be curious and respectful, and it really is the only game that we now have that presents real anthropology to children.
Може да се запознаете с много хора и също така да се изобразите, да се търсите всички проблеми и да създадете нещо ново, иновативно и креативно.
Das Spiel bietet die Gelegenheit an, sich Gedanken zu machen, was sind die wichtigen sozialen Brennpunkte im Moment, und man muss gemeinsame Entscheidungen treffen und sich einigen. Teamgeist ist wichtig.
Ich gebe Milena vollkommen recht, ich bin aber trotzdem auch der Meinung, dass es ebenso ein grandioses Therapiespiel ist.
Целите, които се постигат, са така високо морални, което от своя страна е рядко за българите.
Невероятное впечатление, спасибо вам огромное. В детстве меня учили, что хлеб всему голова. И вот сейчас я здесь была свидетелем очень интересной игры. Игра состоит в том, что дети вначале развивают фантазию.
Освен, че се учиш и семейството е заедно и правят нещо заедно, което е една страхотна основа.
Радвам се, че има такива хора все още, които правят това нещо с любов.
My husband Stefan and I started the Bread House Bakery in Sofia last year. And it is a social enterprise that we used as a model in everything we did with the game. So we hope that you will really learn the same lessons and get inspired the same way we did. It is certainly a game that we want our baby to play with her friends.
This game summarizes 7 years of international experience. It teaches you the most important lesson in life, namely, how to learn to cooperate for creating a better possible world.
And by buying the game, you're actually helping us fund our free bread making programs around the world. Bread therapy, training for people with disabilities, and others to work in the bakeries. So anytime you look at it, know that you've helped change the life of a person. And actually, as we like to call it, you're becoming not simple change makers, but much better. You're becoming change bakers. So join the movement, and thank you for your support.